Five, four, three. Hi, everybody. Dugroz here with Dugroz Reports. Welcome to another Saturday morning live stream. Today is Saturday, October the 4th, 2025, and I'm reporting live from my house. Good to see each and every one of you on board this morning. 11 people on board to start with. We're going to not let that hold us up, though. We're going to bring people on in here. I see DEM. Happy Tom says, settle down, children. Math class is about to start. Sleepy Rod says, Honda up, man. Honda up. Zizas Christ here to trigger the algorithm. And Tom Graber gifts one Dugroz report membership right off the bat. Celebrate, celebrate. Thank you so much, Tom. I really appreciate that. Let's switch this over to the block style or the classic style. Classic. I like classic a little better. It's bigger and easier to read for those of us who have entered the bifocals phase of life. All right, so go and click thumbs up if you've not yet done so. I don't see any reason to delay. Let's go ahead and jump on into the Dugroz data points. What are Dugroz data points? Anything around the world of points and miles that I personally find to be interesting. So our first data point today is courtesy of Frequent Miler. The Blackhawk network, that's a network that handles prepaid Visa and MasterCard gift cards, is suing the Pepper Rewards app parent company for $65 million. Why not $65 trillion? 65 million is just not that much money anymore. I'm kidding. Pepper Rewards is an app that let you buy gift cards, and then you got like coins, which were sort of like a reward on buying them at cost, which you could redeem. And a lot of us were thinking like, this isn't sustainable. Well, this makes it look like it's sure not sustainable. So take that for whatever it's worth. Next data point here. American Airlines says goodbye to Barclays. Citi to be the exclusive card partner. And this is courtesy of the points guy. Now, this isn't necessarily surprising in any way. However, this is the first story that I've seen which explicitly confirms one specific aspect of this that we've all been suspecting, and I'll just read it here. American Airlines has confirmed that as part of its newly exclusive deal with Citi, applications for the AA Advantage Aviator Red World Elite MasterCard have been removed, and the Barclays Aviator portfolio will eventually be transitioned to Citi in 2026. It was that last part we weren't sure of. We all kind of thought, okay, they're going to be exclusive moving forward. What's going to happen to the Barclays card? Probably they're going to move over to Citi and join the American Airlines clan over there. But I thought, hey, there's always that tiny chance they'll convert you to some other Barclays card or come out with a new generic card. Wasn't sure if American Airlines could force them to sell off to Citi, but here we have an announcement from American Airlines themselves that yes, sometime in 2026, if you have an American Airlines card issued by Barclays, that will become a Citi card. Hat tip in part to Matt Clausen, who I know on a video probably 2 or 3 months ago predicted that close of third quarter would be the last time to issue the Barclays AA cards. And it was, because this was a story effective as of October 1st. And yeah, that's all on that. A couple catch up on comments here. MR's on board 10-4. Ron says, looking forward to this presentation. Glad. Thank you, Ron. Riff Raff EH says, live from the Dugroz studios. And it's true. Des Moines, Iowa. Mojo's on board. Good morning. MR says, Pepper will definitely be salty after that. Undoubtedly. Yuri G has arrived. Says, hi, guys. And DEM says, Citi should keep the Aviator lineup. Way cleaner than that word salad of cards names they've created for their AA cards. And Hawaiian cards, question mark? I did not see any announcement about Hawaiian cards. In fact, there is an article still up on Frequent Miler that says Barclays will retain Hawaiian cards for now, but that article was written before October 1st. So I think we just plain don't know the answer to that one yet, but good question there. Too easy. All right, move along. Next, Dugroz data point here. KLM, let me big and eyes. KLM loses Delta and Air France as ground services customers. I don't know if you think this is important or not, but the only international airport in the Netherlands, as far as I know, is the Schiphol or Schiphol, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, airport in Amsterdam. And KLM handled all the ground services for Delta and Air France until now. So obviously most flights coming in were KLM, but like let's say you had a Air France flight that went from New York City to Paris, layover in Paris, and then to Amsterdam. Sometimes you could find better rates that way. KLM will no longer be servicing your baggage. As an example, when my family flew into Vienna, Austria on KLM, we flew from New York to Amsterdam, layover Amsterdam to... No, that's not right. That was a transitional flight. We flew from the United Kingdom to Amsterdam to Vienna. Austria Air handled the ground services for KLM. So I guess technically they lost my bags, not somebody else. So a little more detail on this one here. It seems like there's been a strike going on at that airport for ages. A Dutch court said on Monday that the strike would be allowed only if the unions guaranteed that the flights of KLM's international partners will be unaffected. KLM Ground Services handles 17 daily incoming and outgoing Delta flights and 12 from Air France, among 380 daily flights it manages in total. So obviously very much a minority, but I'm always keeping an eye on this because, since I've flown through that airport twice in my very limited international travels, it just seems like they've been on strike forever. Let's see. Chad Pennycuff's on board. Howdy. Yuri says it's pronounced Skiphole. I was close. And Happy Time says Hawaiian cards no longer on the Barclays website. Well, how about that? We'll have to watch your career with great interest. Next data point. Hy-Vee did me dirty last week. So I went to Hy-Vee, which is a grocery store in the Midwest, and found this card right here. Buy $150 or more in Visa and MasterCard gift cards, get $10 off. And I was like, it's back again? This is like the greatest sale ever if you're trying to do any sort of strategery with gift cards and you have a Hy-Vee near you. But then I look down here and in fine print, it actually says offer valid through August 31st. So someone just left the sign up and I was tempted to just rip it off in anger and throw it in the trash can, doing the job for them. But I also realized that might be misconstrued, so I decided not to. Yuri clarifies Skiphole. Great, thank you. And then next data point here, the Redstone Federal Credit Union. This is hat tip to Dr. Crane, who's a participant on the Stack Your Points Discord, pointed me to a Reddit post called Redstone Federal Credit Union $10 a month inactive membership fee. The Redstone Federal Credit Union card is a cashback credit card on a credit union that's in Alabama and Tennessee. You go back a year ago or a little more, and it was open to anyone in the U.S., but they've since geofenced it. I didn't get in time and still kick myself for that, but I know people like Uncle Luke have the card. You have to have a membership savings account along with it, and starting October 1st, you have to make some sort of transaction every once in a while. So either redeem your points to it, transfer $5 in, transfer $5 out, or you're going to get hit with an inactive fee. A couple people speculated they're trying to weed out some of us out-of-staters who just want the credit card. I don't know if that's true or not, but just something to keep in mind if you had the card. If you have the Redstone, speak up. Let us know. Mike Newland has arrived. Good to see you, Mike. Good morning, all, and Dugroz. Good morning, Mike. And Yuri said, I applied for the Redstone membership and was approved, but I don't have an offer for the right card. Yeah, my wife is in a similar boat. She went through the process. She's a Redstone member, but she can't get the card. So this is helping me keep in mind. I've kind of kept that savings account open with the idea that maybe someday they'll ungeofence, but hasn't happened so far. 33 people on board. Keep on clicking the thumbs up button. We'll drive more people in here. It doesn't cost anything to click that thumbs up button. I sure would appreciate it. Today's going to be a little bit on the shorter side. This is one of those football Saturdays where I need to be done by 11 o'clock Central Time. So by noon Eastern Time. So we've only got about an hour and 15 minutes to go here. So I'm going to just keep moving along. I've limited my data points somewhat. Today's theme of the day is I Prefer Hotels Part 2. Last week, I got pretty good reception to going over some I Prefer Hotels and how you can use Citi points in 2 different ways. So I decided to expand on that. I'm like, hey, if one episode is popular, 2 might be popular, and we're going to be specifically focusing on low point hotels. In other words, those that don't require a very high number of points, perfect for a budget traveler like me or a mid-range traveler. I'm not sure how you put that. This is one of those mornings also where the sun's coming through just right. So there's like these dots of light on my face coming through the Venetian blinds here. Don Kim is on board. Very happy. And Ian M is here. How you doing, Ian? Don't limit data points. I'll take those over a theme any day. Oh, okay. Well, I've already prepared this episode, but thanks for the feedback. I appreciate it. Some sad news that probably no one here has personally experienced other than me. This is a picture of a cottage that I stayed in Wales. Not my most recent trip earlier this year, but back in 2023, 2.5 years ago. It's called the Lundy Lodge. And just this beautiful cabin in Wales overlooking the rolling hills. And I got it through cottages.com, which is a website that has a partnership with Wyndham for 27,000 Wyndham points per night. Perfect location, fit our travel to perfection. This particular lodge is no longer listed on cottages.com. And for over a year now, I check every couple months just out of curiosity. The availability has gotten worse and worse and worse to the point where it was only a few days were open each year. And then it got to the point where it was still listed, but there were no dates open. Now it's not even listed. So if you look at the URL up here, Lundy Lodge, Castle View, and I did search also just to make sure it's not like the URL changed. So apparently they have pulled their listing off of cottages.com. There was one other cottage I spotted that pulled their listing. And I guess it's not surprising because vacation rentals are going to open, close, change platforms. Maybe they only want to do direct bookings now. Maybe they only want to go through Airbnb now. But still kind of disappointing that I will never be able to replicate that trick again, most likely. Cesar Joel's arrived, mi hermano. Hello, brother. And then Matt Clausen, his ears were burning. Howdy, howdy. From New York, I guess. All right, moving along. There's an increased offer on American Express card referrals up to 45,000 points. This appears to be a targeted situation. Hat tip to Doctor of Credit. All the way back on June 26th, a reader named Neil reported seeing 45,000 points for a referral in his app. October 3rd, 30,000 points. Now that can make a big difference. For example, I've never had the American Express green personal card. So let's say my wife referred me, and she doesn't have to have that card. But if she got targeted for the 45,000, and then right now the offer is 65,000, that takes it up to a functional offer of 105,000. Even if it's 30,000, just jump me up to 90,000. That's pretty good. So check your Amex app to see if any of your cards are offering an increased amount for referrals. Matt says, I'm out and about with my little. Great. Good to spend time with the fam. Next data point here. This is just kind of a funny one. You guys like funny ones sometimes, right? I did a video well over a year ago called Choice Hotels Rewards Program Review. There's what the thumbnail looks like. Every once in a while I get comments that are just nonsensical, and here's one of them. Someone named Omeradavo said, cage-free was your promise in 2020, exclamation point with a hazard symbol. Breaking it isn't just about hens. It's about credibility. Choice Hotels must lead with transparency and action. And I noticed the word your here. So my reply was, I noticed that you said your promise. I'm not sure who you're directing that comment to. I am not an official representative of Choice Hotel in any way whatsoever. Shoot, I'm not even an unofficial representative, just some guy making a video. So this seems to happen about once a quarter for me, where someone assumes that like I officially represent the company that I'm commenting on. I did a video about the Serve card by Amex and how it's going away in under a year. And 2 or 3 people were like, your card is terrible. Here's how you ripped me off. And I'm like, what do you mean you? I'm just some guy commenting on the card. Back when I reviewed mattresses more than 5 years ago, I would have people say, your mattress is junk and I got hives and you owe me money. I'm like, it's not my mattress. I'm just doing a review. Mike Newland said, Feather Pony should get Dugroz points for challenging you to make a video. That's right, Mike. How much did I informally promise him? Because you were supposed to remind me. So I did a members only video, and it was in response to a comment from someone named Feather Pony on one of my videos. No hard feelings. It was a just for fun kind of video. But it's good to mention that if you're a channel member, I'm probably a little more likely to make a video in your honor. Not that I've done many. I've done like 2 ever. But hey, great segue, Mike. You can become a member of my channel for only $3 a month. Cancel anytime. What do you get as a channel member? Well, you get to call yourself a Dugroz diehard. First of all, like QC Man, like Mike, you have a squiggly little symbol next to your name. And you get more responses, more interactivity. You get normal videos 24 hours early. And then most of all, you get to see cool members only videos. For example, do you want to know what the random comment I responded to was? It has something to do with yield signs, like, yes, traffic signs. So if you join while this is going on, you get a little celebration. That's one way to support the channel. Mike says, I promised Feather Pony 5,000 Dugroz points. So if you're watching Feather Pony, boom, 5,000 Dugroz points. Thanks for inspiring a whole video. As it relates to Choice Hotels, QC Man says, sure, you're not working for them, Doug. Oh, I winked the wrong eye. All right. And then QC Man drops 1 Dugroz Reports membership. Celebrate. Thank you, QC Man. I really, really appreciate that. All right. You can also support my channel with a super chat or super sticker. I think you all know how that works. And there's also a link in the description box for the tip jar. Tip jar is a way to support me. If you want to, you can support me anonymously. B, you can also, what's the word I'm looking for? You can also just support me in a way that has fewer fees. So I get a little more with that and all that. So let's see. I did get a tip from someone named MR. Well, we know who MR is. He's probably watching. Back on September 27th. Someone named Raymond said, following your rental car advice, I was able to stop a $746 damage charge. Pictures and videos really paid off stopping the charge. Thank you. That was also on September 27th. Thank you, Raymond. I appreciate that. That was $15. And then just this morning, Mike Newland said, when the math is mathing, we know it's a Dugroz day, dropped a $60 tip. Thank you so much. So celebrate, MR from the 27th. Celebrate, Raymond from the 27th. Celebrate, Mike from today. I appreciate all of that. MR says, I'm always watching. They're in the background, just hovering around. Thank you so much for your patronage, folks. I appreciate it. Let's keep moving on here to the Dugroz data points. Oh, we already did that one. My bad. We did that one. All right. It's time for America's favorite segment. Who doesn't take Amex? Or we don't take Amex. There is an orchard that you can go to here in central Iowa. It's about 45 minutes north of the Des Moines area called Center Grove Orchard. My wife's a teacher, and she met some of her kids there for a field trip recently. So in preparation, I was looking at the Center Grove Orchard website, and what did I see? I saw this. We accept cash, MasterCard, Visa, and Discover. Well, what's missing there? Amex. So if you want to go to the Center Grove Orchard, I'm sorry, we don't take Amex. Speaking of Amex, so here's a chat with Amex. My wife's business platinum came due on the annual fee just a few days ago, or not a few days ago, back in September, and I had until October 3rd, that's today, to cancel and still get the annual fee back. Inclined to cancel, but of course we go through the drill of seeing what the retention offers are. The first retention offer was normally you can use your reward points to cover the annual fee. Regularly, that would require 1,115,833 points. That would be 0.6 cents per point for $695. But today I can discount that to 69,500 points for you. Only a penny per point. So, the retention offer was allowing me to pay my annual fee with points at only a penny per point. Since this was a business platinum and my wife already has the platinum or business checking account, this is actually not really an offer because I could always deposit with points, as I showed last week, for a penny each. So I politely turned that retention offer down and then got another retention offer thrown at me. I do have another option. If you keep this account open, I can issue 15,000 MR points on $5,000 of spend over 3 months. I'm like, Seriously, Amex, that's a terrible retention offer. So I turned that one down as well. Cancellation was effective just a few days later. Annual fee, or I had an auto pay on September 27th. Then I got the annual fee refunded to me a few days later. So I've got like a $600 some statement credit. So yeah, canceled the wife's Amex Platinum. That one is gone. It does not exist anymore. I need to do Rich with Points and show you how I've changed my stuff, but I'll get to that in just a few moments here. And then I had a problem with Dell. So I wanted to get the Dell credit. You know, they've changed it so you get $150 a year, but you could, this year only, you could do $250 in the first half of the year, $150 in the second half of the year. Kind of bad on me, but I waited till like September 25th or 26th to place my Dell order with October 3rd as the deadline. I ordered 2 Nintendo Switch Pro controllers, which came out to somewhere around $161. I thought I'll get the $150 credit. That is basically, I'm getting them for a net of $11. I can either give them to my kids or sell them. I got an email, kind of a confusing email that says your order will arrive later than expected. We need your consent by October 1st. And then I got another one like a day later that said we need your consent by October 3rd. What's weird is the Thursday before that, so the last Thursday of September, they were actually delivered. So I don't know what's wrong with Dell. I did consent to delivering it by no later than October 3rd, which was yesterday. I think I said today. It was yesterday. I already have the controllers. They still haven't billed me. I still haven't gotten an email or anything like that. If they send me another email that says, do you consent to a late delivery? I'm just going to hit the cancel button. What do you think is going to happen? A, am I screwed here? If I do, I'll just return the controllers. Then I functionally don't get my Dell credit. Do they have the ability to charge a closed card and I will still get my Dell credit? I just don't know what's going to happen with that. So this is kind of the risk of trying to play credits games, especially when you cut it close. And that's my bad. I should have done this back in July, but I waited too long. QC Man says everybody loves Raymond. I don't disagree. Yuri says eBay doesn't take Amex anymore directly. Sleepy Rod says I've gotten by on a few places that don't take Amex with Apple Pay using my Amex. Interesting. Mike Newland drops a $1.49 super sticker. Celebrate. Thanks, Mike. You get 1,000 Dugroz points. I have a standing offer on the table. Anyone who donates exactly $1.49 while the live stream is going will get 1,000 Dugroz points. Yuri says, good decision on the business platinum. Juan Garcia has arrived. Juan from the MIA. Good morning, Doug and everyone. Craig Howard Kirkland says, Cyclones win today. I have the money line. As always, Lane Kiffin is my head coach. Go Rebs. Well, I hope the Cyclones win today, too. They're playing the University of Cincinnati. QC Method said, did you already get the Dell credit before you canceled? No, it showed up as a pending charge for one day. Then the charge just dropped off altogether, which has happened before with Dell because they don't bill until it ships. The thing is, it already shipped back in September, but it's like they don't know that it shipped. Like the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. Rex Blind is here and drops 149, thereby claiming the free 1,000 Dugroz points. Boom. There you go, Rex. Celebrate. Thank you, man. Much appreciated. So if you have any advice, you can either bring it up here or hit me up offline. Put a comment on any of my videos. I'll know what you're talking about. Let's see. For the sake of time, I think I have some transfer bonuses, but none of them are really compelling. I think I'm going to skip over those. The Wells Fargo Autograph, this is Hat Tip Frequent Miler, Autograph Journey has a 100,000 point sign-up bonus, but it's in branch only, and you have to have Wells Fargo Premier status, which means you have to have $250,000 of assets with Wells Fargo. Well, that is not a club that I'm in. If any of you are, please speak up. But this is interesting because, what was I going to say? This is interesting because I'm hoping this is a trend. So right now, I think it's 60,000 points. Even if it only goes up to 80,000 as a public offer, that would be pretty awesome. Obviously, Wells Fargo wants more people to have this card. So just hoping it's a trend. Rex asks if, do you mind if I create AI Dugroz for a video? That's an it depends answer what the AI Dugroz is going to say. Maybe put a comment on one of my older videos, or if you use the Stack Your Points or Anthony Venture Discord, just ask me on there. Rex also became a channel member. Celebrate, celebrate. That's just as good as a $3 super chat. Thank you so much, Rex. And then LN also became a channel member. Celebrate, celebrate. Also as good as a $3 channel membership. Thank you for joining, fellas. Tee-hee-hee, says Rex. I agree. Okay. Next hat tip here. This is courtesy of Danny, the deal guru. And he lets us know that Southwest will start flying to Alaska in 2026. And the only thing I have to say about that is, don't they know that Alaska is to the northwest, not the southwest? Thank you, folks. I'll be here all night. I had mentioned a couple weeks ago that I had a minor miracle where I got approved for 2 chase cards in one day. I think it was 2 Saturdays ago. One of them was the Ink Unlimited. That was the bigger part of the miracle. I also picked up a Marriott Bonvoy Boundless for the purpose of taking the path to the Ritz-Carlton. I wanted to hit in September specifically for my forever renewal date when I get the FNC. So that's why I picked that date. At the time, the sign-up bonus was 3 free night certificates, valued up to $50K. About a week ago, they changed it to 125,000 bonus points plus 1 free night certificate. That's a much better offer for the exact same amount of spend. And I'm like, oh man, I wish I had that offer. So in the spirit of it never hurts to ask, I sent a private message over to the good folks at Chase. And I asked this specifically. I see now the current offer is this. I would very much prefer the new offer. Can you please, as a courtesy, upgrade me to the new offer of earning 125,000 bonus points plus 1 free night, since it's the same amount of spending and the same time frame? Thanks. What do you think? Did the good folks at Chase honor my request to upgrade to the newer, better offer? Or did they force me to stick with the offer that I got at the time I signed up? Do 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 do. Well, if you thought they were jerks, you were right. Thank you for contacting us about your Bonvoy card ending in this number. We understand your inquiry about the new account bonus off your card, and we're here to provide info. Douglas, we regret to inform you that the new offer you're requesting is not available for a richer offer. What? So the offer will remain. You will earn 3 Marriott Free Night Awards after you spend $3,000. Your account is open. Well, first of all, that's some pretty terrible English grammar there, but I can read what it says, even with some missing articles. It was a no. They said, go pound sand. You do not get the better offer, even though it came out 2 weeks after you did yours. So, womp womp, bum bum ba-da. No better offer for me. Mike Newland says, thanks for supporting Rex and LN. I agree. Rex says, thanks for being everyone's favorite uncle. Bill Wright is here and says, this isn't football Saturday. It's MLB Day when the Cubs dominate Milwaukee. I'm hoping so. Now, if I've been paying a little bit of attention, the Cubs, were 1-1. And these are 3-game wildcard series. Is that correct? So they need 1 win. Matt says, I've been told you can just join Premier. The $250K is fee waiving. Oh, so I wonder if you could join for like just long enough to do your sign-up bonus. Sleepy Rod says, Kugelos is a Wells Fargo Premier member. That is my alter ego when I speak Spanish. Kugelos. Matt says you can downgrade that Premier membership anytime. Chase said, meet the minimum spend and then talk to us. Meet the minimum spend and then call. It sounded like they just straight up rejected me, although I might try again after I hit the offer. Bill said, when I did the Hyatt card, the nice multiple certificate offer came out right after. Chase gave me the new one gave me the no with multiple asks. That's what works on Chase UR cards. Yeah, I've had success in the Chase UR cards before. I did not have success in the Aeroplan, and I did not have success here on a Marriott card. So I'm wondering if they're more particular on co-branded cards. Next, Dugroz data point. This has to do with the U.S. Bank issued State Farm Business Cash Rewards credit card. This particular credit card is one that I haven't used in a while. I mainly just picked it up for a 0% for a year. Doesn't show up on your credit report type introduction. And I'm now past my year. I've paid it off in full, so there's no reason to keep it open. I've been saying that for like 6 months. So today is the day to do that. So I'm going to shred the card live on air. See, I even wrote close 10/1/25 right on there. You can kind of see my paper shredder down here in the corner. Kind of. Live shredding. 5, 4, 3. So there we go. No more State Farm business card for me. All of a sudden, my face got very pale. Let me shut off the light here. All right. Sleepy Rod. Whoop, wrong person. Miles to the Mouse said Dugroz going Dave Ramsey on us. Not exactly. David Williams says, I wonder if that premiere trick would work. I think they waived the fee for the first 2 months. That would be really cool. And Sleepy Rod says, I don't know if I want to risk a $250,000 for Wells Fargo points. And MR says, like a good neighbor, Dugroz is there. Well, I was. I'm not anymore. Next data point. We've only got 2 to go. Capital One is doing a thing for some people. The Capital One Venture Cards has a referral offer of 75,000 miles and a $300 credit targeted. Hat tip to Tim over at Frequent Miler. Basically, the way Capital One works is even if you're using a referral link, you have to go through a pre-approval tool. And some people, not all, are getting this offer, 75,000 miles plus a $300 credit, probably in their travel portal, which is really good. That's worth like, 105,000 miles functionally. You have to use the last 30 in their portal. I do have the Capital One Venture X, so I can refer someone. Now, you only get the referral if you've never had a Capital One card before. But if you're thinking about that, I didn't put a link in the description box of this video. Just put a comment in one of my older videos or hit me up offline if you want that referral, and I'll be happy to send it on. Yuri says, why do you hate no annual fee State Farm cards so much? I don't hate it that much. Just my philosophy is I don't keep cards that I'm never going to use anymore. I get a kick out of having a minimalized portfolio. Hey, thanks for the reminder, by the way, Yuri. I need to update my overall whiteboard here. So let's go ahead and do that at this time. I'm going to share this tab instead. Can you see it? There it is. So thank you, Rich with Points, website richwithpoints.com. So this is where my wife's one key issued by Wells Fargo was until recently. Got that taken out. Going to take out the Business Platinum. Going to take out the State Farm business card. So that is what my portfolio looks like now. After a little bit of rearranging, though, haven't done this in a while. So after October 1st, we added the Bonvoy Boundless card and a second Ink Unlimited. So right now I have 34 cards. Got 7 across, 5 down, take away 1. This is my entire household. My wife and I put together both personal and business. So this is where the portfolio sits right at this time. Next Dugroz data point. This is a data point of a personal nature. Well, this is the Dugroz Eats segment. I often talk about Casey's Pizza, but I don't think I've ever showed a picture of what it looks like when you go in store. There's this little rotating thing and a warmer. And I was at a Casey's where they just brought out some very fresh pizza. Look at that. It's so good. This is the same breakfast pizza here I got. And then like 2 days later, I did something different. Sausage pizza during the daytime, and they now offer homemade ranch with it. I was never a pizza on ranch guy before, but I am for Casey's. I tell you what, it's like a special ranch specifically for pizza. It is good. In fact, it's so good, I couldn't resist taking a couple bites before I took my picture. And if you're wondering why there's a blanket in the background, it's because I'm kind of a slob, so I keep a blanket in my car. I eat in the car a couple times a month and don't want to spill on myself. So that's why. We're done. No more Dugroz data points. I'll catch up on comments here. QC Man says that's basically VentureX benefit for 1 year. I agree. Miles to the Mouse says, did the Aeroplan card have a refer a friend feature? Unfortunately, Chad, it does not. I wish it did. I would have had about 10 referrals by now. Too Easy says, was the one key card worth it? In terms of a keeper card, no. there. I have a members only live stream somewhere on my channel where I worked with some members to look at like, do people who have gold status get better offers? Spoiler alert, they don't. Happy Tom says, I knew we'd get an episode of Dugroz Eats. Woohoo. I'm glad for that. All right, we've got 59 people on board. Keep on clicking thumbs up. Go ahead and keep dropping those super chats, the super stickers. I'm paying like $40 a month for the premium version of live stream now, which is why I'm finally able to have widescreen, see my whole office in all its glory. So if you like that feature, if you like the wide Dugroz, it's got to be a better way to say that. Go ahead and throw a buck or two my way. I would sure appreciate it. Everything I get, 80% is reinvested in the channel and 20% goes to my family budget. All right, you know what it's time for, folks. It is time for the theme of the day. The theme of the day today is preferred hotels with the Citi Group. Part 2, low point hotels. So let's go ahead and dive in. 5, 4, 3. Let's look at some preferred hotels with Citi. This is the second part, low point hotels. And what do I mean by low point hotels? Well, I don't mean quality, as you can see in the graphic right here. Obviously, I'm wearing my tuxedo. Now, it was like a Salvation Army tuxedo, which is why it only has one sleeve. But that is a fancy pants restaurant. By low points, I just mean this is the lower end of what you can get with preferred hotels. So this should be fairly affordable. What are preferred hotels? I talked about this last week. This is a part 2, so go back and watch last week's live stream if you want some clues. But just in short, preferred hotels and resorts connects discerning travelers to luxurious hotels, resorts, and residences in iconic destinations around the world. Some of them don't seem so iconic. They seem more unique or historical, but I'll take it. Basically, it's a loose confederation of hotels, similar to how Hyatt has the small luxury hotels. Hyatt used to. Now Hilton has the small luxury hotels. Preferred hotels are along those lines. It's not a franchise. It's just a group of hotels that all work together. How can I book them? Well, you can just go straight to you can go straight to preferred hotels and pay cash. They have a rewards program called iPrefer, and I'll give a hat tip to frequent miler. They tell you this. Many preferred hotels, but not all, can be booked with points. Of those, some can be booked with Preferred Hotels' own iPrefer program. Some can book with choice privileges, and some can be booked with both. Now, you do have to have one of the more premium cards that lets you transfer over to iPrefer. You can transfer your Citi Thank You points 1 to 2 to choice or 1 to 4 to iPrefer. Now, today we're only going to be focusing on the 1 to 4 to iPrefer. Last week, I did a comparison between booking with choice and booking with iPrefer, and I only found one example where choice was better and one example where it was a tie. Frankly, folks, just for the sake of time, I didn't have a lot of time to prepare this week, so I'm only going to be focusing on those you get directly with iPrefer. There's no harm in checking them out on the choice side as well. iPrefer is mostly better because you get that 1 to 4 transfer ratio, which makes all the difference in the world. Yuri G says, I'm very close to spending $200,000 on travel on Aeroplan Pay Yourself Back now after I got one in June. Congrats, that's awesome. I maxed out my wife's Pay Myself Back and about half of mine earlier this year when we went to England and Austria. New again says, morning, Doug. Morning, all Doug. What record is on the turntable? I'm actually really glad you asked, and I wish and hope my friend Brian Jackson is here this morning. So there's 2 records. The bottom one is the Percy Faith Orchestra, and it's called Joy. It's a collection of themes from the 1950s, 60s, 70s of movies. Have you ever heard of the movie Brian's Song? Na, 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 na. It's like a football-related tearjerker about Brian Piccolo. And then the top one is called A Tribute to the American Farmer by J.R. Richards. That is an insanely obscure record. A guy named J.R. Richards from Ottumwa, Iowa, my hometown. I remember as a kid around 1985, 6, 7, seeing commercials on TV for a local guy selling a record, and my friend Brian somehow found a copy and bought it for you. If I have time, I'll play a sample for you sometime because I'm pretty sure no one has bothered to register that as a copyright. It's from 1985, and it was pretty much only distributed in the state of Iowa. So there you go. Yuri said, I stayed at a 30,000 preferred hotel in Medellin, and I'm going to stay there again soon. Awesome. Good news, Yuri. I thought I had one more data point around something that you would appreciate, Yuri. Did I accidentally miss it? I think I accidentally missed it. It was somebody let me know that the Shop Your Way card issued by Citi is going to be nerfed in the near future. And I thought, oh man, Yuri is going to have some issues with that. Source King said, did you come across a lot of phantom availability on Alaska when you booked your trip to Europe? I don't know about a lot, but I did come across it once. I thought I had found availability to fly to Dublin, and I even booked it, and it screwed me over. And I had to call Alaska to get that resolved. So yeah, it did happen. I said Ireland. Aer Lingus, I think, is the name of their airline. Glad you're on board, Source King. I have a Swedish example coming up real soon here. So how can I book them? You book your iPrefer by transferring your Citi points 1 to 4 over to iPrefer, their rewards program. So these are all going to be examples of 4-night stays. These are Friday through Tuesday, unless indicated otherwise. All of these are on the lower end, so 75,000 points per night or less on the iPrefer side. Now remember, because it's a 1 to 4 transfer, that would be no more than 19,000 Citi points. So these are all 19,000 points or less when you think about Citi points. Most of them are dramatically less. I'm not going to look at choice today, the 1 to 2 ratio, just because I don't think it's as good, but I also didn't have time. So here are 7 real examples of 4-night low. Here are 7 real examples of 4-night low point stays using preferred hotels and resorts. Don't those all look pretty cool? Here we go. Example number 1. This is the Nordic Light Hotel in Stockholm, Sweden. Now, I know, Source King, you said last week that real Swedes stay up north, not in Stockholm, but most of those hotels that are associated with iPrefer are in Stockholm. So be it. 30,000 points per night is the starting point, as you can see right about here. That looks pretty cool. Here's some pictures. It's right in the heart of Stockholm. Looks like public transit would be very easy. I see a cool looking older building right behind it. That appeals to me. And here's the room with your standard Northern European or Scandinavian bed with like 2 separate duvets, some chairs. This looks a lot like the Choice Hotel that I stayed in when I was in Göteborg. So you can get this room for 30,000 points per night. They call it a standard queen. What sometimes throws me off is outside the United States, the definition of king, queen, etc. are a little different than they are here in the States. It looks more like what we would call a king-size bed, but I can't say for sure. April 17th through 21st. So this would be $900 exactly if you paid cash. And at 120,000 total iPrefer points, that's 30 times 4, it would be 0.8 cents per point on the preferred hotel side. But remember, we got to go 1 to 4, so it's only going to cost us 30,000 Citi points for all 4 nights. That's the beauty of using 4-night increments. Basically, whatever it shows here per night, take that times 4, divide by 4, it's going to be that amount. So for a total of 30,000 Citi points, you can stay 4 nights at this particular hotel in Stockholm, Sweden, and that comes out to 3 cents per point. I am rounding to the nearest 1/10 of a cent per point, so sometimes this times 4 isn't always a perfect matchup, but it's usually pretty close. Before I get into example number 2, I'll catch up on comments real quickly here. Oh, there's only one. Yuri says, yes, Shop Your Way will be converted to an unknown Citi MasterCard, but it seems to me as it will be converted to Citi Thank You rewards, which I also have, which was converted from the Sears card. It still gets great offers. Will it still get great offers in the future? Probably neither of us knows. Probably nobody knows. Source King agrees that Northern Lights Hotel in Stockholm is, in fact, right in the middle of it. Thank you. I'm glad I have insiders on my channel. I have a United Kingdom insider and Sam K, although he's not here today. I have my Sweden insider, Source King. I have my Puerto Rico insider in Cesar. Rex says, just wondering, Dugroz would make for a great roaming restaurant critic, kind of like a non-jerky Dave Portnoy. I don't even know who Dave Portnoy is. I also, well, on April 1st of this year, I put forth the concept of switching to nothing but food reviews. I would be the everyman food reviewer, like Casey's Pizza, Culver's Cheeseburgers, Taco John's, that kind of stuff. Yuri thinks that there will be no offer starting in 2026 since Citi is severing its ties with Sears. Makes sense since Sears barely even exists anymore. 63 people on board. Let's go ahead and keep on smashing that button if you would be kind enough to do so. Resuming with the theme of the day here. Example number 2, the St. James Hotel of Minnesota in Red Wing, Minnesota. This would only cost you 30,000 points per night on the preferred side. So this is a little bit south of the Twin Cities, Minneapolis. And if you think about what Minnesota looks like in your head, the left edge of Minnesota, the west edge, is pretty straight, but the east edge has 2 sticky outies, one at the top and one at the bottom. Yes, those are technical geographic terms, if you've wondered, sticky outies. And so this would be kind of along the bottom sticky outie where the Mississippi River flows more like west to east rather than north to south. That's where Red Wing, Minnesota is. It's right on the banks of the Mississippi River, which you can see here in the bottom right-hand corner. Maybe not the hotel, but the city. This is not a big city. Yes, this is where Red Wing boots originate from. I like this idea for 2 reasons. One is it's kind of that small-ish, I don't know for sure, 5 to 10,000 population size city. Got a cough. It's got a really cool historic downtown district. In fact, the hotel in question, this building right here on the left, kind of looks like Ford's Theater a little bit. Brick, got an American flag out front. Got your Austin Powers style Main Street. Except it's not British. I actually had a friend that used to golf in this area quite a lot, and he says it's really beautiful, a guy I officiated football with. You can see there's like this tall butte in the background, probably a cliff overlooking the Mississippi River. And from my town of Des Moines, Iowa, it's only 4 hours. It's under 4 hours to get there, 3 hours and 49 minutes by car. So this could be a long weekend getaway for my wife and I kind of thing. Or maybe I just go by myself and do like a miniature rip trip there. If you did press ahead with this hotel, what was it called? I forgot the name already. The historic St. James in Red Wing, Minnesota. It would come out to 30,000 iPrefer points per night. Ignore this up here. This is the points plus cash. Let's say I go real soon. I go on Halloween day through November 4th. That's a 4-night stay. $991 is your cash rate, or for a total of 120,000 iPrefer points, this is 0.8 cents per point. Or for, again, only 30,000 city points total. That's not bad at all. That's like what, under 8,000 points a night for a pretty nice hotel. 3.3 cents per point. Now, this says the only room available with iPrefer is a 1 queen bed. So I don't know that I'd want to go with my wife. We really like to have king size beds when we travel, although we have a queen size bed at home. So I'm not sure why we're so particular. But I think that's a pretty cool setup there. Where were we? Ian says, Portnoy changed my buddy's life. Good dude. Well, I'm glad to hear it. QC Man says, Portnoy has millions of MR points on his Centurion. Doug would never encourage that crazy behavior. That's right, Ed. I would not. At least put it on a gold or something like that. Audi or any too easy ass. I'm not sure what that's a reference to. Sounds like a belly button. Rex Blind says, sticky Audis. My wife has 2 of those. Heyo. Sticky Audis in Minnesota. Yes, I got me now. Okay, so Too Easy says, I love me some Red Wings. QCM says he likes to see the high MR balance. Source King says, I've been to Red Wing. What'd you think? Was it pretty cool? Could be a weekend trip for me very easily. Next example. This is example number 3. The Hotel DuPont in Wilmington, Delaware. Again, would only be 30,000 points per night on the iPrefer side. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, Delaware? What's there to do in Delaware? Well, If you're a super ultra geography nerd like myself, you probably know that the top portion of Delaware is rounded. It looks like about 40% of a circle. That's because way back in colonial times, when the King of England granted a charter, the rule maker said, hey, the top border of Delaware is going to be a 12-mile circle around the courthouse in Newcastle, Delaware. That courthouse still exists, although I think it's more of a historical building now. And Newcastle's right next to Wilmington, so you could go visit the origin of the 12-mile circle. This is the hotel on the right here, the DuPont, and right across the street's a very historic church. A lot of historical type things, not just where Joe Biden lives. On the inside, you've got a lot of fine mahogany and marble staircases and stuff. This actually kind of reminds me of the Hotel Roosevelt in New Orleans, where we had that epic dinner. Well, some of us did. If you want to go there, you can get the classic room, the one king bedroom, for 30,000 iPrefer points per night. Again, still way down there at 30,000 points. This is April 17th through 21st, so we're talking spring rip trip territory. The direct price was $3,304, or 120,000 iPrefer points, and that comes out to 2.7 cents per point on the iPrefer side, and only 30,000 Citi points, a whopping 11 cents per point. I don't know what the deal is. Maybe the Biden family reunion is that weekend in Wilmington, Delaware, or whatever. So just to be on the safe side, I checked over on Expedia to make sure it wasn't a fluke. Expedia is charging $2,988. So not quite as much, but it's still in the neighborhood. So it's 9.9 cents per point, even if you go through Expedia. Now, obviously, if you go through Expedia, you won't have any status honored. If you're paying the cash rate, you can't earn iPrefer points. There might be some other benefits as well, like potential upgrades and stuff. But man, 11 or 9.9 cents per point. I actually probably could have rounded that up to 10, but for the sake of being conservative, I said 9.9 cents per point. So if you do want to go to Delaware, you can stay at the Hotel DuPont and get somewhere between 9 and 11 cents per points. Let's see. Yuri says, go and see Biden's house in Delaware. I probably won't get an up close tour. Maybe glance out the window. QC Man says 3.3 for Citi is good. Is 1.65 cents per point for Capital One good value for you, Doug? 1.65 cents per point for C1. Good value for you, Doug. It depends on what I'm using it for, but I would be happy with 1.65. Yeah. I'm not sure what the Capital One is referencing. If you can clue me into what you mean by that, let me know. Yuri says, I iPrefer titanium status matched. I did too. They were doing a match for anyone who has the Aeroplan card could get that status for a while. I don't know if I still have it or not, which in theory got you free breakfast and some other stuff too. And I'll talk about that a little bit later here in the main event. Let's press ahead. Example number 4. The Hotel Grand Pacific. This is in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. And I'll show you on the next screen exactly where that is. Once again, we're still in the 30,000 point per night territory. We've got a beautiful looking hotel with a lot of lush greenery around it. They've got a restaurant or cafe of some kind where it looks like it's outdoors. They've got some of these panels that go part way up. I'm not sure what that's for. They don't want birds flying in and taking your croissant. By the way, quick story. When I was in Panama City Beach a couple years ago, I was at a Hyatt Place, and they had a breakfast bar where you could eat outdoors or indoors. The outdoors was on a balcony. I was eating outdoors and finished most of my food, but went back inside to get something else. And when I came out, a seagull was trying to take my food, and another patron had hopped up and was trying to shoo the seagull away. So seagulls are jerks. But they've got that. They've got a beautiful looking indoor pool, kind of Romanesque column kind of thing. This looks pretty. This looks like a good balance of like outdoorsiness and swank. Perfect for me. Here is some glimpses of what it looks like from the outside. The Hotel Grand Pacific. First of all, let's take a look at the map. So we're over here on the Pacific coast. This is that island, Vancouver Island, that kind of takes a bite out of Washington State a little bit, right at the southeastern point of that peninsula-ish island. By the way, the town of Vancouver is not on Vancouver Island, but the town of Victoria is. So you could probably either fly into Seattle or Vancouver. 6-1, half a dozen of the other, and get over there. I've always wanted to go there because I just thought, I don't know why, Victoria Island looks kind of cool. The picture up here, you can see you got the harbor in the foreground. It's probably an inlet or fjord, and then you got the Rocky Mountains in the background. Rocky Mountain High. If you want to stay there, you can get a king bedroom, a one king room for 30,000 points per night. October 9 through 13, this is of next year. Sounds like an ideal time for fall foliage. In fact, I went to the fall foliage map and looked up peak foliage time. It's right around that time. I think 5th through 7th was the ideal, but I wanted a Friday through Tuesday. That would be 0.9 cents per point if you pay for it directly with iPrefer points. But if you transfer in from Citi, on the Citi side, you get 3.7 cents per point. $1,106 for your 4-night stay. I would actually love to go here. This one interests me quite a lot. Have any of you been to Victoria Island? Surely someone has been. Yuri says, I got matched from Hilton Diamond. They'll match just about anything over to iPrefer. QC Man says, Capital One has 1 to 2 for iPrefer, if I recall correctly. You are correct. They just added that transfer partner within the last 4 weeks, as opposed to Citi's 1 to 4. Capital One always with the bad negotiations for their transferable currencies. Okay, so if I go back to your previous comment, now I get what you're saying. So if it's 3.3 cents per point Citi, divide that by 2, 1.65 on the Capital One side. If I get a Capital One or a Citi double cash, that would be a better way to get over to iPrefer than using my Venture X. But sometimes you've got offers on Capital One that makes them more attractive, so on and so forth. David Williams says, Victoria, British Columbia is very nice. Yuri says, it's not as rainy as Vancouver. Victoria actually has pretty good climate. I would love to go to a place like Wales that's more in North America. It's a little easier to get to, where it's like close to the ocean. So you get that the benefits of the ocean where the climate doesn't vary as much because the specific temperature of water is pretty consistent. I wonder if that would be a good candidate. Next example number 5. We're going to go to the Grand Hotel Excelsior in Valletta, Malta. Yes, the island nation of Malta right there in the Pacific Ocean. It looks like the boot of Italy is going to kick it. I know Uncle Luke from Luke's Points and Miles has been there in the not too distant past. What attracted me to this is if you're a follower of Frequent Miler, they've got their 100K vacay challenge going on right now. It's probably wrapping up right about now. And Greg, the Frequent Miler, did a pace-setting adventure to Malta recently, and I read about it and thought, whoa, that looks pretty cool. I would love to go to Malta someday. So this one was definitely on my radar. Now, this is a little more. This is 50,000 points per night on the iPrefer side. You got this harbor here. You've got, here's a screenshot of Google Maps, the hotel itself. You'll notice that it's kind of like shaped like the letter Y. Now, I'm sure only some of the rooms face the ocean or have only a handful have a full view, some have a partial view, and some probably face the city. Not a big deal. One of the things that Greg said is he stayed in a town, I think it was called St. Julian's, which was like the next town over, and it was kind of the party town. And he said, I would rather stay in the more historic district, which would have been Valletta. Well, hey, this is Valletta right here. In fact, the cathedral they stayed at is kind of right over here. It's definitely within walking distance. It was only like a 7-minute walk to get there. Here are some pictures of it up close. Here's some happy 30-something type people dining and having a great time. This girl here looks like somebody I knew from college randomly, but it's not her. This is like a little cafe that belongs to the hotel. It's probably their tiki bar. In fact, on the previous screen, you can just barely see it down here in the Google overview, the maps. That would be a fun place to sit right there by the cool Mediterranean air. You've got some historic looking buildings in the background. Oh, I don't know what language they speak in Malta. Maltese? Ooh la la. You could get a 1 double room. This is another example of it being overseas. What they call a double bed looks to me like what we would call a king bed. 50,000 points per night. Let's say you're going during the summer, July 17th through 21st. By the way, I did not cherry pick these in the sense of looking for the best value. I just went on dates, like dates that I thought would work out well. I would probably only go in the summer, so I picked summer dates, July 17th through 21. It would cost you $1,027 for 4 nights, which is actually fairly reasonable for a nice looking hotel, a little over $250 a night. That comes out to half a cent per point on the iPrefer side. You can do the entire 4-night stay for 50,000 Citi points. That's not bad at all for 2.1 cents per point. Anything above about 1.5 on the hotel side is pretty good in my judgment. New Again says, Doug, do your alter egos, Mr. Roz and Dr. Doog, have a preferred bank issuer transferable currency and travel merchant? And how do you stay balanced? Mr. Roz wins most of the time. Frankly, when I get other currencies like Amex membership rewards, it's just for sign-up bonuses mostly. Mr. Roz mostly goes with Chase and Capital One just because they're easy for finding pretty decent value. Obviously, my 1.65 Aeroplan Caravan is a big one for the lower end stuff. I'm going to screenshot that. That could maybe be a whole topic someday. QC Man says, I'm going to give you 200 Dugroz points for a potential inspiration. New Again. QC Man says, I think Uncle Luke went to Malta recently. Indeed. Yuri did not like Malta at all. I'll tuck that away. You want to give like a 1-sentence overview of why you didn't like it? Yuri says, yes, Maltese is very similar to Arabic. And 521 Taipei said, thinking of getting the AA Platinum card, but wanted to product change it to a custom cash in year 2 or 3. Is that not allowed? Thanks for asking, 521 Taipei. I believe it's probably not. In a previous live stream I did, I had a lot of people saying they tried to change like an American Airlines card to a thank you point earning card, which used to be possible, but it's not anymore. That's why I decided not to go for the Barclays card before they closed it to new applicants. The Barclays American Airlines card, because I figured I'd be stuck with that, and I didn't really want that card. I would rather keep to my strategy and keep my 524 slots open. But great question. Thanks for asking. Next, the Hammock Beach Golf Resort and Spa in Palm Coast, Florida. I had to get at least one beach vacation that's kind of like your traditional standard American family with kids type vacation. The kind of vacation I took a lot when I was a kid. My family went to Florida about every other year, although usually we're over on the Gulf side around Panama City or Fort Walton Beach or something like that. Take a look at the picture. You've got kind of your standard golf resort. You've got a beach. You don't have to golf to go there, of course. You've got water slides, perfect for the kids. You've got beach. I find it funny. It's kind of hard to see, but if you look closely, there's a no running sign in this picture, and the kids are very clearly running. Oh, by the way, I should mention, when I first saw this, I thought, oh, that's probably like Palm Beach, Florida, because it's called Palm Coast, like the Palm Coast. Nope, there's an actual town of Palm Beach. Excuse me, there is a town of Palm Beach. There's also a town of Palm Coast, not to be confused with Palm Beach. Palm Coast is north of Cape Canaveral. In fact, it's north of Daytona. Not as far north as Jacksonville on the Atlantic side. Here's a Google Map shot. You can see you've got some water slides and kind of your standard, what I think of as Florida beach resort stuff over here. Here's the resort, goes all the way back to here. And I think they have some like lodges that you can stay in, like townhomes. So realize you're probably not going to get ocean view, or at least not direct ocean view. You might get a partial ocean view. You might get to look inland. Who knows? And you got your standard dad, who's ripped, of course, throwing his daughter in the air, and then mom gleefully over here supervising, like a standard American family vacation. You can stay at the Lodge Ocean View. I think that means the big building. 2 queen beds. I picked 2 queens. It was the exact same price for 1 king. So I thought maybe as a family, if you have 2 kids, you can put mom and dad in one bed, the 2 kids in the other bed. I don't really like to do that anymore because my kids are getting too big, but you could. Let's say you go in the summer, and once again, you got July 31st through August 4th. That is going to be $2,201 if you pay cash, which comes out to 1.1 cents per point on the iPrefer side. We divide by 4. It's only 50,000 Citi points per night. Again, 4 days in a pretty nice Florida resort. Not bad. That's 50,000 points, which comes out to 4.4 cents per point. Anything over 1.5 is pretty good in the hotel. Anytime you're over 3, you're rocking it, in my opinion, when compared to the original currency that you're transferring out of. I sure hope someday Citi does a transfer bonus of 10, 20, 30% iPrefer. Then it would be even juicier to the point where I might consider a speculative transfer out. Yuri says Malta is too crowded. No trees at all, none of space, too much garbage. Oh, that's disappointing. It seemed like Greg really liked it. I'd have to ask Luke. I don't remember what his opinion was. We've got double Yuris today. Yuri G and Yuri BSU. And Yuri SBU, Southern Baptist University, says, hey, Doug, I just got the IHG Premier card in the mail an hour ago. It's the last Chase card I really wanted. Celebrate. That's pretty awesome. Jacqueline Flory Pullman. I don't think we've met before, Jacqueline. Good to have you on board. Casey's just took over a chain of gas stations in my area, and thanks to you, I was extremely excited. You should be. Now, I will say it might take them a little while to integrate the pizza, and not all Casey's gets it because, like, they took over a chain called like Quick Stop or something here in Iowa, and some of them had kitchens and some didn't. So look for the ones that have kitchens. Now, if it's a brand new build, they will all have kitchens. I also am getting a Casey's built even closer to my house. As it stands right now, I have to drive about 4 to 5 minutes. In the future, I only have to drive 2 or 3. So, hey, that'll save me 90 to 120 seconds. So good to see you on the board, on the board. Jacqueline, thanks for commenting. I think you're going to love Casey's Pizza. And just Casey's in general. Next up, number 7, and last but definitely not least, the Hotel Chateau Gouche in Lucerne, Switzerland. I don't know truckloads about Switzerland, but I know enough that some parts speak German, some parts speak French, and some parts speak Italian. This is probably in the French-speaking part. I know chateau is a French word. I'm not sure where Lucerne is. I should have looked on the map. I know there's a Lake Lucerne. In fact, you can kind of see it in the picture. This one really appealed to me. Now, this obviously was taken in winter, and I'm not going in winter. But look at that cool historic building. Now, you should probably understand it's kind of hard to see, but the hotel goes back here, and there's other buildings too. So you're probably not staying in the main old historic building, but I'm sure you can go into it for the lobby and those kind of things. Here's some other pictures. This is looking out over Lake Lucerne. Actually, you can see it right there. So you've got mountains. You've got these alpine villages, which I'm sure there's people playing Ricola horns and yodeling in. You've got the cool old lodge. Here it is from a different angle. Oh, man, that just looks so cool. If I can ever figure out a way to work remotely and not get in trouble with my job because of transit time, internet, some other things, I'd love to go to Switzerland for like 4 days just while working and just sit in the building and look out over the lake if I can get a lakeside room. Yodelay, 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 ooh. Let me know if you know what that song's from. Now, this is the most expensive one of the whole show. I said 75,000 points or less. This is exactly 75,000 points. You get your superior double room. Again, they're calling it a queen-size bed, but it looks kingish to me. This would be between April 17th and 21st. So this is my hypothetical spring rip trip where I actually head off to Europe. It'll say this hotel uses CHF, which is the Swiss currency, but I like the fact they always display it both in the local currency and the U.S. currency. It's kind of cut off to the side, but it is there, trust me, when you switch over to money as opposed to points. Normally, this would be $1,836 if you paid cash, or 300,000 iPrefer points, which is 0.6 cents per point. But remember, divide that by 4. It's only 75,000 points on the city side. More, yes, but still not bad for such a nice looking place. That's 2.4 cents per point. In terms of guessing and whatnot, MR says Sound of Music. No. Yodelay, 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 ooh. Let's see how high our mountain climber can go. Yuri G says, I want to get the United Airlines business card in addition to Explorer. I think it's the best United card combo. I've heard other people say that, but I don't know a lot about it. Yuri G says, yes, Casey's bought a bunch of Pilot Flying J gas stations. Cool. I know they expanded like as far as like Indiana down to like Alabama and a little bit into Florida. Not much. QC Man nailed it. Price is Right. Yep, that's the yodeling guy song from Price is Right, which is from an actual old record. So you get 250 Dugroz points, QC Man. Yeah, Sound of Music. Nope. Come on, guys. Price is Right, says Kid Cat. Every time you're sick as a child, you should watch Price is Right. In fact, I have a rule in my household: if my kids are home sick, they only get a certain amount of technology, like screen time. I think it's an hour, but Price is Right doesn't count. That's more like a human right. All right, so let's wrap things up here. I've only got 16 minutes. Here's a summary with the Citi points needed, just how much you would need for each of these stays. Excuse me. Sweden was 30,000 points, and that was 3 cents per point. Minnesota, Red Wing, was 30,000 points. That was 3.3 cents per point. Delaware, that DuPont place in Wilmington, was 11 cents per point, also 30,000 points. Canada, Victoria Island, Victoria, the town on Vancouver Island, 30,000 points, and that came out to 3.7 cents per point. Malta was 50,000 points, or 2.1 cents per point. And Florida, the Gulf Coast place, was 50,000 points, 4.4 cents per point. And then the hotel where you go yodel in Switzerland, right on Lake Lucerne, was 2.4 cents per point. That was 75,000 points. Boy, Delaware just sticks out like a sore thumb. It must have just been like that weekend thing. But that does prove a good point that I wasn't cherry picking. But if you want to cherry pick, you can get really good value. Now, I don't necessarily think you should go to Delaware just to prove a point, so you got really good cents per point. That's part of the reason I have a problem with people who, I shouldn't say people, it does bug me a little when content creators say, like, for the sake of cents per point, how much value you can get, or like free night certificates, they automatically go to the best possible hypothetical example, which is always like, let's say that you go to the Maldives for 1 day in February, you can get this much value. And it's like, or, even a more realistic example is using Choice Hotels to book properties in Scandinavia. You can get really good value, but don't say that out of context. Like, oh yeah, you're always going to be getting 7, 8, 9 cents per point. So actually, when we do the averages, I'm going to take Delaware out because it's such an obvious outlier. So if we average these out for the 4-night stays, your average stay is going to cost 42,143 points. Now, again, this is if you take your iPreferreds and you sort from fewest points to most. And there was lots of other examples that 30,000 level. There were lots of resorts in Mexico. There were multiple in Canada. There were truckloads in South America, like Guatemala, Colombia. I guess Guatemala is Central America, but like Colombia, Peru, that kind of stuff, in that 30,000 point range. So it wasn't isolated. 3.2 cents per point is the average cents per points. But again, just to clarify, I excluded Delaware from that average because they were such an outlier. It would have pushed it up around 4 or 5, which I thought was kind of unfair. I have some random thoughts on like when this would apply, when this would not apply. You probably have to design your whole trip around this stay if you're going to do one of these, because these are in pretty unique locations. I don't think a lot of people are going to say, like, let's go to Red Wing, Minnesota, and, oh, let's just look at what hotels there are. Oh, hey, look. Or Wilmington, Delaware, or Gulf Coast, Florida. But it's like, let's say you want a beach vacation in a very general sense. You might look at Florida, the Carolinas, Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama, and you're like, oh, hey, I found this one. Some moderate design the trip around that might be appropriate. Or like, I live in Des Moines, Iowa, and where can I go for a long weekend? I can go to Red Wing, Minnesota. So in that sense, you're kind of designing your trip around it. If you definitely want to go to London, you're probably not going to have as much luck because the London ones tend to be a little more expensive. Breakfast, unknown. I'm not really sure what would apply. Now, the only time I've stayed in a preferred hotel was in 2024 when we went to the Salamander Resort just outside of Washington, D.C. I actually booked that with Choice Points because it was before iPrefer became a transfer partner of Citi. And what they told me when I was ready to check out was, we are not going to honor your iPrefer status because you booked with Choice's rewards program, not iPrefers. Now that's different. I did actually talk my way out of it. I was like, hey, if you had told me that up front, I would have changed my behavior. So that's not fair. They did end up honoring the free breakfast, thankfully. But that's kind of a different example. So I don't know if you get free breakfast or not. At least 2 of the hotels in the example list, when I checked out the cash rate, it said breakfast included. And I tried to go apples to apples as much as possible. Sometimes there was like a prepaid no cancellation rate. Obviously, I didn't use that because with points, you can cancel up till, I think, 4 days before, penalty free, something like that. So whatever the rate was that seemed closest to like the member with cancellation rate, a couple of them included breakfast, a couple of them didn't, and the others just didn't say. So whether or not they give you free breakfast is just not a known thing. My suggestion would be if you're booking one of these, I would recommend, assuming you're not going to get free breakfast, but consider it a pleasant surprise if you do. There might be a small fee. Again, back to my Salamander Resort example. When I booked it, it said I would have to pay something like $20 a day on site when I get to the hotel. But when I did, they never actually charged it. This is dollar. Some of these hotels said there would be this, like, they didn't even say what it was, just like an administrative fee that you may be charged upon arrival. And it was anywhere from like, $7 to $8 a day up to like $30 a day. So for a 4-night stay, that'd be between like $30 and $120. Again, in my one data point, they didn't charge it to me. If you're still on board, Yuri, when you went to Medellin, did you have to pay like a resort fee or anything like that upon arrival? Let me know if you did or didn't. And then there's the opportunity cost of not using other points, like you might have Hyatt points saved up or something like this. So, if you're using this, you're not using something else. And that kind of ties in with spreading your ecosystems too thin. Now, that depends. In my case, I'm really leaning into Citi right now anyway for American Airlines, for Choice Hotels. You can always cash out if you need to. So if one of these came along, it wouldn't cause me to be spread any further thin. But let's say you're like a diehard loyalist with Hilton and Hyatt, and then your secondary program, primary Hilton, secondary Hyatt, and you've got them all saved up. And now to go this as a tertiary, you might be spreading yourself too thin. Which one of these stays appeals to you the most, if any? I really like the thought of going to Switzerland. The most realistic one that appeals to me is probably Vancouver Island, Victoria, British Columbia in Canada. I'd love to go there. I think it'd be an easy trip. The weather looks nice. Tucking it away for a possible anniversary getaway for my wife and I next year, but I don't know if we're going to fly or not. We'll have to kind of check on that. If you could get the direct Seattle to Des Moines flight going, Alaska, that would really help out. And my last thought is some people might say it's not cool to go to place like Wilmington, Delaware. But I like things like nostalgic charm and grandeur and weird, out-of-the-way historic places. I mean, shoot, I took a trip to Albany, New York earlier this year to see presidential graves. And if you come back at me and say, I specifically asked for no geeks, my response would be, but my mom says I'm cool. If you know the reference, you know the reference. So I think it's cool, whether or not you do. That's the end of the theme of the day. I'll catch up on points here, and then we'll see what people have to say. Catch up on points. We'll have to catch up on comments. Oh, boy, we got a lot here. QC Man says there was a yodeling song and Sound of Music as well, but it didn't quite go the way Doug was singing. That clearly sounded like Price is Right. You're right. High on a hill stood a lonely goat herd. Yodelay, 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 hee-hoo. Very different than yodelay, 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 hoo. Kid Cat says Price is Right, Young and Restless, Walker, Texas Ranger, and Touched by an Angel were Granny's choice of shows. She just watched CBS straight through all day, it sounds like. Chad with Miles to Mouse says, I'm not a slave to cents per point. I go where I need to go and just look for a reasonable redemption. And I think that's a good way to look at it here, especially at those 30,000 point redemptions. You're getting 30,000 points for a 4-night stay in a pretty nice hotel. Who cares what the cents per point is? QC Man says, Iowa State is ranked, but underdogs to an unranked opponent. Is Cincinnati that much of a home field advantage, or is there a major Iowa State injury? Iowa State's 2 top-ranked cornerbacks did both get injured and are out, one for the whole season, one for at least a month. So we'll see what happens. Ian says, my wife won a trip on Price is Right. Was really fun. Oh, man, I would love to see that episode. Send it to me sometime. How rare to get on the Price is Right and win something. QC Man says, very cool, Ian. Were you in the audience helping her out? Did she at least give you a shout out when spinning the wheel? I want to say hi to my husband, Ian. He's in the audience. Mouse to the Mouse says, are there any status hacks for iPrefer? The only one I know is what Yuri said earlier. They do status matches constantly. He got one from, did you say it was Hyatt? I got mine from Aeroplan, so maybe. Yuri says there are different rates. The higher rates include breakfast. The question would be, A, does the points only rate include breakfast? My guess is some of these are such a loose confederation, they don't even know. So it's kind of luck of the draw who gets you at check-in, whether they're like, let's see, you're staying on a point stay, you have status. Yeah, I think you get free breakfast. Here's some coupons. Or you might get Helga, who's like, no free breakfast for you. QC Man drops a $1.99 super sticker. Celebrate. Thank you so much, QC Man. I should probably check the tip jar too. I'll come back to that, time permitting. Ian M says, I was helping, but she's the Price is Right All-Star. Awesome. Colombia doesn't charge taxes from tourists. Oh, that's cool. In Mexico, they charge me taxes on top of award booking. Maybe that's what the small fee is. I know I've said before, places like Croatia have like a tourism tax that you absolutely cannot get out of, even on point stays. So maybe it's that kind of thing. Well, it is 10:55. The Cyclone game starts in 5 minutes. So unfortunately, I won't have much time for the theme of the community tab questions. There was actually only one person that successfully asked an actual question as opposed to guessing the location. Nobody guessed the location correctly, so I'll maybe save that for a future date here. Here's the one actual question. It comes from Mojo, whose alter ego is AZFox09. With all the changes with credit cards, is it time for us to start gardening again until lucrative offers come along? That's a really good question. I said, excellent, in Mr. Burns' voice. That's a little hard to answer. First of all, there are still good offers. For example, I just got targeted for a 150,000 point business gold offer, but I have to spend 100,000 MR points. You can get at least 60,000 on the Wells Fargo autograph journey, maybe 100,000 if you have that super duper Wells Fargo status. I somehow got an Ink Unlimited approved. My wife got the Sapphire Preferred 75 plus a 20,000 referral bonus. That's 20,000 points. So there are still good offers out there. Some of them are just kind of the always offers. Like we saw the Venture card, 75,000. It's never a bad time to go for that. So I think whether or not you garden comes down to your overall strategy, your 524 status. So for some people, yes. For some people, no. If you didn't already do it, watch the Path series of videos I made a little while back, and that kind of goes over some of my thoughts in that. Kid Cat says, honestly, if you want to go to Wilmington, you're better off staying in Philly. You can take Amtrak there in 30 minutes or SEPTA in 50. I don't know what SEPTA is. Is it the same as a septum? I'm kidding. That's a good tip there, Kid Cat. Thank you. But what if you really like a slower pace and you like smaller towns? Would that advice still apply? Life is so rich. Hey, I don't think we've met before. So rich. How you doing? Good to have you on board. You should edit these two iPrefer videos together and have a complete booking video for preferred hotels. I'm going to rewatch last week's portion after this. That's a good idea, and it wouldn't take a whole lot of effort. Or what I've done in the past is I've just re-recorded myself doing the whole thing. Sometimes that's easier than editing. Cesar says thumbs up, and QC Man wants to give him a fist bump as well. And that's where we'll end it. Oh, I need to read over who gave a donation. Tom Graber gifted 1 membership. Thank you. QC Man gifted 1 membership. Mike Newland dropped a $1.49 super sticker. Rex dropped $1.49 as something. Rex also became a member. LN became a member. And QC Man dropped a $1.99 super sticker. And then over on the tip jar side, I can't share my screen there because some of them are anonymous and it'll show the names. But I can say them out loud. MR gave $14. That was last week, but I didn't have time to see it. Raymond gave $15 last week, didn't have time to see it. And Mike Newland gave $60 today. So thank you all. Celebrate each and every one of you who supported the channel today. I really, really appreciate it. Kid Kat clarifies SEPTA is Southeastern Pennsylvania Transit Authority. Name checks out. Thank you. And Mike Newland says thank you. And as always, may your spending be frugal and may your points be plenteous. Thanks. Bye, everyone.